Mayor of Kingstown Season 4 episode explained, Betrayal everywhere. The last moments of Season 4, Episode 6 of Mayor of Kingstown prove that you have to watch all the angles as betrayed by someone close to him. One of the basic rules of being in head of a criminal organization is to never trust anyone. A lieutenant will decapitate the captain if the price is right. Being in command is not the only way to do this. According to certain mythology, gods will murder those beneath them for a variety of reasons. The most recent episode of Mayor of Kingstown features the latter analogy. After the Colombians destroy the train containing Frank and Bunny's contraband, Bunny is on his way to talk to Mike about what follows next. His truck has a flat caused by road spikes, and Bunny is shot and taken to the hospital. That suggests someone knew the direction he was taking and put this up. However, who was it? Mike McCluskey is on the job, of course. He must, however, first visit Anchor Bay Prison to speak with Warden Nina Hobbs. Nina and Torres ask Frank Moses to be arrested so that Kyle can return to the particular population. He was placed in Gen Pop at the end of Episode 5. Mike puts Ian and Stevie on after agreeing. The work, and Frank has been brought in. Naturally, things don't go as planned. After Mike makes Frank consent to being jailed, Mike meets with the guy who was driving Bunny during the gunfire. When Mike realizes he's acting strangely, he makes a few deductions. Frank seemed to have set Bunny up. However, near the end of the episode, while Frank is coming into the jail, he's fired at by someone who's presumably part of the Colombian cartel. This indicates that Nina and Torres planned Frank's murder. Mike is oblivious of the incident because he's at the hospital with Bunny. Ian calls him, perhaps to let him know what's happening, but he doesn't answer. "Just you and me, buddy," Mike says. This indicates that he is beginning to realize that the people with Bunny are attempting to murder his only resource and that the only person he can trust is presently in a coma. It's becoming difficult to accept that Nina is innocent in any of this. Even though Torres and his group are using her as a pawn to eliminate their rivals, she is aware of what is going on. What we need to question is why she's doing this. The obvious explanations seem to be power and money, but who's to say she isn't in charge? Lastly, would Bunny trust Mike when he confesses that Frank set him up? Mike and Bunny are tight, but I wouldn't characterize them as friends. They're friends due to the circumstances, but nothing more. Meanwhile, it looked like Frank was attempting to nurture Bunny up to be a major player in the game. Furthermore, if Bunny does believe Mike, what's next? It's not like Bunny can simply defeat Frank with no repercussions. Frank has influential connections in low places who have a stake in his company. Bunny might not be able to handle the consequences. Mayor of Kingstown continues to treat Season 4 as an exercise in how horrible things can get for practically everyone involved. The persistent sense of a powder keg has grown more intense, and in Episode 6, which is another extremely awful moment for the McCluskey brothers, among others, it may reach its most explosive point to date. The conflict between the Colombian cartel and the Crips could break out at any time. The Aryan Brotherhood is lurking in the periphery with their own ambitions. Frank Moses, a career criminal, is not as rational as Bunny mistakenly believed, and in the middle it all, albeit for different reasons, are Mike and Kyle. Number 081693, which is Kyle's Anchor Bay prisoner number and has a very Les Miserables coded title, has two main centers of dramatic energy. At the beginning of the episode, Bunny and his driver, Lamar, are attacked while traveling to meet with Mike and Moses at a location with a view of the burning train that the Colombians had destroyed in the previous episode. A Colombian killing squad is the major suspect, and Bunny is shot twice in the crossfire, rendering him unconscious for the rest of the show. Meanwhile, Kyle finds himself in general population and tries to keep his identity a secret so that news of his being a cop doesn't begin to dangerously spread. It takes Mike a while to find out about Kyle. With Carney dead, Raph in isolation, and Bunny in the hospital, he has very few eyes in the prison. Since Torres leans on him and destroys his burner phone, Kevin is of little assistance. The alarm isn't set off until Cindy starts working and finds that Kyle's ADSEG cell is empty. Kyle is permitted to phone from the yard at the same time, so Mike has to deal with the double blow of finding out that his brother is missing and realizing that it's because he's floating around in Gen Pop. Mike encourages Kyle to go to Raph and the Crips for protection, and most of all to keep away from the Aryan Brotherhood, who will undoubtedly attempt to enlist him. However, he believes that an administrative error is just being corrected when the guards arrive to remove him. He is unaware that Torres is just as filthy as Hobbs and that Cindy told him he was missing before she called Mike. The guards give Kyle off to the Colombians to be severely assaulted, but he's spared by a few Aryans who promise him that Merle Callahan has his back. By now, Mike has gone into the prison, booted Torres in the balls, and demanded to see Hobbs. Now that it's clear that Mike has discovered her complicity with the Colombians, Hobbs is a little more forthcoming about her desires. She wants Mike is open to making that happen, but only if he gets to see Kyle and he returns to Ad Seg. Kyle declines the visit even though his first wish is fulfilled. Hobbs also breaks another pledge to reintegrate Callahan into society at large. When Kyle returns back to his cell, his neighbor is still in situ, and makes a point of reminding him that he now